So I would love for you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done it already. Click that little bell icon. Give us a little thumbs up if you like our videos. Throw us a comment. Throw us some information as to what you would like to see, what you'd like to ask, any of those type of things. It helps us out. So today what I want to talk about is I want to talk about setting up your security rules when you're dealing with the OpenText ECS and Delta product. So when you're dealing with ECS and Delta, understand that it has a server entity that gets installed. That's for the ECS. You can have an ECS client that can be installed onto a workstation so that they don't have to be on the physical server or in RDP into the physical server. And then you also have your other piece, which is your Delta mapper. So that Delta mapper is where you're going to design your maps and all those types of things. You can either have that on the server, which is where I typically recommend it to be, or you can put it elsewhere. But I typically say ECS server, Delta, that way the mapper is with the server. You can do all your configurations on that server. One of the big things that people run across is they go, well, why do I need to give it such permissions? So Windows domain, SQL Server, all of those type of things. So think of it this way. That product, the ECS, it needs to communicate with the SQL Server. If the SQL Server happens to be on the same server, whether it's physical or virtual, as the ECS Server installation, typically that communication is going to be easier. Now, if it's going across the network, so there's a specific SQL server and there's a specific ECS server, and they need to communicate with each other, well, you're going to need network permissions. You're also going to need network permissions to move files across your network. So if you want to save files to a shared folder, well, the program's going to need to do that. If you're going to need to communicate with a SQL server, it's going to need to be set up with those permissions that can get it the access it needs into the backend database. So you're dealing with multi-levels of security. In companies that are highly secured and locked down, you need to explain these things to them as to what's going on. ECS is going to communicate. It's going to go out. It's going to use AS2. It's going to use SFTP. It's going to use FTP. It's going to use those things that your trading partner wants it to do. So you're going to need ports opened up. You're going to need your firewall rules to direct the AS2 data to the ECS server so that the data can be decrypted and it can also be encrypted. You're going to need to be moving data. So I simply usually tell people, listen, you want to make it easy? Whatever you're running that product under, so when you do your install, domain admin, network domain admin, give it full rights inside of SQL. And if you have your network admin that goes, whoa, hold on, we need to keep this secure and keep this locked down, that's cool and all. Have them assist with the install. Have them change the password. Have them set up an ECS specific user, not one that somebody uses to log in, but a specific user that runs the software for ECS and activates the Windows services and does the SQL connections in the SQL server. Now you can restrict it because you don't have other parties or physical people using those logins. But remember, if you start to back off permissions, you might stop functions from operating successfully inside of ECS because you might not think it's needed, but it could be. If, like I said, it's saving files onto the network shared drives, or it's interacting with the SQL, or it's doing database lookups, and it's doing those type of things. You have to think it through as to what all is that product doing on your system, your network, and how's it interacting. And explain those things to your network admin or whoever handles your security setups.